Hey, I'm back, and I am okay. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite TV shows. And today I'm going to be doing a TV show review of Succession Season 4, aka the final season. So, yeah, about an hour ago, I finally finished watching Succession Season 4. It took me like a whole ass month to finish watching it because for the last few weeks, I have been so extremely busy, or at least from May till mid June, I was so extremely busy that I did not have any freaking time to binge watch literally anything. So the fact that I was able to finish Succession is pretty awesome, and I finally finished it today. And if you don't know this, Succession is a TV show from HBO created by Jesse Armstrong and frequently directed by Mark Mylode. And if you don't know this, Mark Mylode has also made other works like The Menu. Yes, well, he directed it. So, Succession has been one of the most exciting TV shows uh, to be on streaming platforms uh, at this current moment. When season one came out, I watched like the first half of episode one, and I sort of dropped it because it wasn't really my style. It's really weird, awkward. The dialogue is sort of messy and mumbly, and the whole thing seems very boring. And then a whole year later, I picked it up again. I watched episode one again, and then season one left me quite impressed, actually. But Succession just gets better and better and better after season one. We have season two and seasons three, which are even more compelling with amazing character arcs and amazing story changes and twists and turns. And the thing with Succession is that all of the characters in Succession suck ass. They're all terrible. There isn't a single morally sane person in the entire character list of Succession. Every single person in Succession are power hungry but too cowardly to confront people. They're very prideful, they're greedy. A lot of people in Succession lie and backstab, and it's essentially Game of Thrones but set in real life, in real time, and about a bunch of rich white people literally killing each other in a family in the most dysfunctional way possible. So, of course, you get Logan Roy, the big bad boss, who is authoritarian, who rules with an iron fist, and is the face of capitalism, and his three very spoiled children, Kendall Roy, who is the most prideful and basically the main character, Roman Roy, and Siobhan Roy, and also the always forgotten Connor Roy. Now, seasons 1, 2, and 3 have tons of twists and turns where the siblings and the father constantly betray each other, reunite with each other, reconcile, and then betray again, again and again and again and again, constantly back and forth with a lot of ups and downs. And season 4 definitely brings all those storylines together and lay them out in a very straightforward way. And the plot overall is not that complicated. But while it isn't that complicated, it's still extremely well written. And I even dare to say that the plot of season 4 of Succession is some of the most well written television I've seen in a very, very long time. Essentially, what's happening is the entire season hinges on one thing, and that is Gojo, which is a company owned by Lucas Mattsson, a very rich Swedish guy, and Gojo wants to acquire Waystar Royco, which is the company that all the characters basically work for and are affiliated with, and that is a huge deal because the siblings do not want it. And the entire season basically surrounds that, but of course it gets more and more complicated as the story goes. The first two episodes are a little plain and simple, lots of phone calls, few arguments here and there. It doesn't really shock me or wow me or anything. Episode 2 picks the pace back up a little bit, but the real bomb is episode 3, Connor's Wedding. The episode is titled conveniently Connor's Wedding, and while that seems like it is the main dish of the episode, because it is, it actually isn't. Now, one thing I would like to talk about is Connor Roy, and also his wife, Willa. And I don't think I've noticed this or talked about this before, but Willa's name is Willa Ferreira. And given that Will Ferrell is one of the executive producers of the show, I thought that it's actually kind of funny that Will Ferreira is like a joke name, and it's just some sort of spin of Will Ferrell. But anyways, this episode is the definition of subversion of expectations, and something happens in the episode that completely derails the entire story of the entire show, and it all fell apart in the most realistic and emotionally draining way possible. I also really like the episode 5, Kill List, where we essentially get a detour episode. I really love these detour episodes in succession where you get a detour episode in Italy, or you get a detour episode in Scotland or something like that, where suddenly all the characters are in a completely different country in some beautiful vacation-y place, and everything continues to fall apart and people continue to hate each other because of that. And yeah, you get the detour episode in Norway, where we have negotiations with Lucas Matson, who is played by Alexander Skarsgård. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later, but again, really interesting episode. What is really cool about this episode is that you realize that Succession is not unique, meaning that what happens with this Roy family is crazy and bloody and violent and emotionally draining, but the exact same thing is happening in Sweden. And rich people are just like that. Rich, powerful people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, they're all just like that. And it just shows. Episode 7 is Tailgate Party. I really like that episode as well, because a majority of the episode is just all the characters stuck in one giant room and you can't really escape, you can't go anywhere, and it's suffocating, it's claustrophobic. Episode 8 is the presidential election, and obviously it's an extremely stressful episode where you get the siblings sort of yelling at each other, and the entire presidential election almost hinging on what these siblings think. And it's pretty crazy. Episode 9, Church and State, is a devastating episode where you really feel the characters in their rock bottoms. Again, I will not spoil what happens, but there are some amazing monologues and amazing acting chops in this episode, particularly Kieran Culkin. Kieran Culkin is literally Roman Roy himself, and he, in every single movie he's in, every single show he's in, he plays the same character. But in this episode, he manages to get so real and vulnerable. It's actually impressive. He literally becomes Roman Roy in this episode. And then finally, episode 10, the finale, is 1.5 hours long, as expected, and it is an incredibly fitting ending for the episode. You really go through one last look of all the characters, and they all meet their story arcs ends, whether it be the sibling meeting their appropriate end, Tom and Greg meeting their appropriate ends, and Connor and Willa meeting their appropriate ends as well. Again, not going to spoil it, but it's all tied up in a ribbon in the most, I guess, satisfying and justifying way possible. The payoff, it's just really, really great. Let's talk about the acting now. Jeremy Strong as Kendall Roy is amazing. Kieran Culkin as Roman Roy and Sarah Snook as Shiv Roy. They're all absolutely fantastic, amazing chemistry, and all three of them are extremely different. Like, you never really feel that their personalities clash. One of them is extremely prideful and aggressive, the other is weak and timid, and the other is very cowardly and snaky and double-faced, and you never see their personalities overlap, yet at the same time you really believe that they are siblings, especially on episode 10, where you really see these siblings being siblings for like one last time in their lives, and it's just poetic and bittersweet and heartwarming at the same time. And one amazing thing about the cast of Succession is that the actors are literally acting like themselves, and I think that's really important, especially for TV shows where these actors have to stay in character for very, very long periods of times. And what's amazing about the casting of Succession is that they managed to find actors that actually resemble these characters, like not only physically, but like just the way they talk and the way they think. And it's amazing. Brian Cox as Logan Roy is a force to be reckoned with. And Nicholas Braun as Greg literally plays himself. He's just as awkward in interviews. As much as he tries to be all like, oh, I'm an actor, he's just Greg in real life. And amazingly, Alexander Skarsgård, I never expected the guy to just fit in Succession so well. The way he slouches, the way he would slur words, he just fits right into the show amazingly, and I totally didn't see that coming. And that leads to the dialogue. As you all may probably know, the dialogue of Succession is kind of wild and random, and they speak in ways where you feel like you don't read enough books. People in Succession just say random shit. Random chicken salad, fucking whatever shit, you know. And it's tough to really understand what people are saying, but then you kind of get a feel of what they're saying, so you sort of follow the plot that way, and it's really, really interesting. What the heck is happening? Okay. And finally, I think most importantly, the real MVP of Succession, not only season 4, but the entirety of Succession, is Nicholas Patel. The guy is like popping off. The guy popped off in Succession season 4. He single-handedly or double-handedly made what is perhaps the best score of any TV show ever. Amazing. The music is just so freaking amazing. He takes classical music, specifically Baroque music, or maybe a romantic classical music, and basically elevate it to such freaking drama. He takes the bougie theme of Succession and gives it like 50 different variations. There are string variations, there are piano variations, there are hip-hop variations, and every one of them just fit the scene so well. And especially the end credits for episode 4, Honeymoon State, and the track is called Action. That the building English horns and the dun 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 dun. I actually liked those songs on Spotify so that I could feel the drama. It's so exhilarating and anxiety-inducing and epic, so freaking epic for its own good, and it's somehow just perfect for the story. It's I remember in an interview he said that for a show that is comedic and doesn't take itself too seriously, he needs to make music that is extremely serious, and that really delivers. And also, I really, really love the track I'm the Number One Boy. Oh boy. I Am the Number One Boy, where these strings just swell and climb in a way. It's just so full of bittersweetness and bursting with emotions. It's honestly amazing. And just the way the end credits have different music, and it just perfectly transitions to the end credits. It just sounds amazing. And overall, I think the story is amazing. I love how Shakespearean it is. The constant betrayal and backstabbing is amazing. But in a lot of ways, this is realistic. A lot of shows, again, I hate to bring it again, but Game of Thrones or many other shows have betrayals and backstabbings, but A, it's always like literally life and death. B, it's forever. Characters betray each other and then they move on. But in Succession, characters betray each other, they get back again, and they betray each other again, and then they go back again for like 15 times, because that's how dysfunctional families are, and the show understands that. And another thing is, it's not really life and death. Not a lot of characters die, and that has been something that I've been thinking about, and that is a lot of popular TV shows literally hinges on life and death. Literally. But what makes Succession so great is that you care about these characters so much because you invest so much of your time in them that their livelihoods and their well-beings, albeit they're all billionaires with dick in their hands and they can all go fuck off, but you also care about them and you care about them. And another final thing I want to add to this review is funny, and that is because I binge watched Succession, I guess, in the last few weeks. And the last few weeks of my life have been very turbulent, especially the film class in my college that I had to take, and the insane amounts of drama and backstabbing and betrayals within that class. Somehow that amplified my enjoyment of Succession itself, and Succession amplified my enjoyment of that turmoil of a class itself. So that's also one of the reasons why I listen to Succession soundtrack, to literally soundtrack my own freaking life. It's so Succession, yes. So yeah, fantastic show. Shows like this really, they're rare, and I dare to say that this is the best show since Mr. Robot. I'm giving Succession season 4 a strong 9 to a 10 out of 10. Yes. So have you watched Succession? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.